And recording has begun. Okay, so a couple of discussion topics, and we may not be doing the bug scrub today, depending on how GitHub continues to function. Let's take a look at the status. Yeah, that's not good. So this might be a short meeting. Unless anyone else has other topics. Yeah, unicorn of death. Okay, so one thing to be aware of is there is some discussion in SIG architecture and also in the steering committee about using the kits.io, Kubernetes.io domains. So typically we use those domains for the core APIs. There wasn't any formal guidance around when to use those in the open source previously. And as we're moving to CRDs and trying to do more and more work outside of the core, basically to evolve components in the ecosystem, either managed by SIGs or managed by entire other organizations outside of core, and then potentially adopting them to ship with the rest of the built-in types, we had to come up with some guidance surrounding when to use those domains. So what we're adding is x-kdes.io. So for our SIG, any SIG-sponsored projects would take that domain. So in the future, for instance, AppCRD will move to xkdes.io. Legacy stuff can be grandfathered in, of course. For the other stuff, just don't use it unless it's a core type or a built-in type, or you've gone to SIG architecture and developed a CRD outside of the core that will be included as a built-in type in Kubernetes. So that's really the gist of it. There's some other kind of conversation around when do we need to get API reviews for non-built-in types, and what is the function of those API reviews. For instance, if SIG Apps host a project and we come up with a CRD and we want to include it and host it as part of our SIG, and we get an API reviewer to review it, do they have, so should their review purely be focused on just the API correctness? Should their review also include technical correctness of the implementation? And should it potentially be at the level of, hey, we should not do this? And the kind of thinking is the API reviewers should focus primarily on the API mechanics and the API correctness, kind of the syntax, but not on the latter two categories. Yeah, so Mayank, I did try to review this morning, but as it stands, GitHub, as far as I know, is still down. So just waiting on that. I did attempted to leave comments, but doesn't look like, I mean, if anyone, oh, wait, hold on. Maybe we can get back into GitHub. Nope. But yeah, that should finalize this week. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to discuss?
Hey, Ken.
Yeah.
You know that CNCF is starting up their SIG apps as well, right?
Yeah, we were discussing, Janet and I were kind of talking offline about does anybody want to get involved in that?
I am going to.
You are? Okay, good. Are you going to chair it? Because right now it's Michelle. Michelle is a chair. Is there anyone else?
It's Michelle and Alexis. They're doing all the footwork right now.
Okay. So yeah, I guess that's an interesting thing to bring up. So SIG Apps for CNCF is going to be forming. I know Michelle's and Alexis are going to be chairs of that SIG. there's a notional document for what the mandate of CNCF SIG apps will be. So if anyone's interested in participating, let's see if I can
So
find.
what is the difference between that SIG apps and what is the difference between that SIG apps and this one?
So as far as I know, the CNCF SIGs are primarily advisory bodies. They don't have governance over the core Kubernetes APIs. They're not necessarily reviewers of those APIs. They don't own code. In particular, that's kind of the path that's been for SIG storage so far. So they do things like technology evaluations, suggesting best practices, providing tutorials. Brian, have you had any experience with the direction that SIG Apps is taking so far in CNCF?
It's still getting kicked off. I think they're still trying to get it off the ground. But I do want to read this one quick thing, and I think this might explain. This is from their charter working document. It says to collaborate on areas related to developing, deploying, and managing cloud-native applications. And then it says to develop informational resources like guides, tutorials, and white papers to give the community an understanding of best practices, trade-offs, and value adds as it relates to developing, deploying, and managing applications in cloud-native environments. And the last item is to identify suitable projects and gaps in the landscape, periodically updating the TOC with suggested actions in a structured manner. So what I take is this, is that Kubernetes SIG Apps is a little bit lower level and very focused on Kubernetes. But there's lots of applications in this space, whether Kubernetes related or not, that definitely need a forum. So I like the idea.
Do you have a link to the charter? I'm trying. Here
Yeah,
we go.
let me link that. I'll link it in the chat.
I got it. I
You
got
got
the
it?
document. Yeah, I was looking over it last week. So I think that kind of echoes what I just said. I mean, basically, I'm linking it into the conversation. It's not working with code. Um, it's kind of, yeah, like Brian said, at a higher level. I think because the SIGs are new, one thing that's an opportunity is if you get involved now, you have a lot of opportunity to kind of shape what it becomes, right? Because it is still a little bit nebulous, but it's probably not going to be conflicting with the work we do in SIG apps. Like, I don't anticipate them doing bug scrubs or looking at enhancement requests or that stuff for core Kubernetes. The kind of thing about CNCF for people who aren't familiar with it though is CNCF is a little bit more than just Kubernetes. There's an entire ecosystem of projects, both in the incubator and a few that are graduated that fall under the governance of CNCF. So it does have the potential to kind of widen the scope of exposure across a plethora of technologies, whereas SIG Apps is really focused on kind of Kubernetes and the things that run directly on top of it. For instance, I believe RabbitMQ is part of CNCF. Rook is part of CNCF, Linkerd, Istio. Actually, I think Istio might not be, come to think of it. But a whole plethora of storage and application technologies fall under this space. So, it could be an exciting opportunity to get involved in kind of a broader range of technologies if core Kubernetes isn't necessarily the focus that you want to spend all of your time on.
And I give you another suggestion of where there could be some overlap. Remember last year when we did the tags, we went through the whole exercise with the labels, the standard labels that Matt Farina put together. That is something interesting because someone else reached out to me and saying, hey, I wish that in our whole CNCF space, or our whole cloud native space, that we could just agree on labels. So that is a place where there could be some coordination actually.
Yeah.
So I just brought this up actually not as to ask any questions. It's more of to get this
Announcement.
so people could know that this thing was existing and that there's other opportunities and avenues for people to visit and investigate.
Cool.
Yeah, we did actually talk about it in SIG Apps before, I think a couple of weeks ago now. I think when the group was still forming, so we put out a just an announcement saying if anyone wants to get involved in that, then they can.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I would say it's still kind of forming right now, but you know, it's again, like if you're looking to get involved and contribute and help grow it and help shape what it becomes, now is a great time to do it.
Yeah, I haven't really been involved. Have they had meetings yet?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, seems like they're just putting together the charter for now.
Yep. So it looks like GitHub is still down and reporting major outages for everything except for GitHub pages and notifications. So bug scrub is probably not going to happen today. I wish the GitHub folks best. Hopefully they recover, because if not, I mean, they're on Kubernetes and we use them to build Kubernetes dependency cycle. They don't get healthy, we can't ship them bug fixes. So we don't have anything else scheduled. Does anyone else want to bring anything up?
So Ken, I think you mentioned in the beginning that you reviewed it already. You were about to leave comments. So is there anything that you wanted to tell or that came out that you wanted to clarify, or we can just go
it
on?
was the same thing that we discussed last time. I was just saying that we should probably do option 4 and basically incorporate it with pod management policy. But
correct, and yeah, I updated it based on that. So did you get a chance to look at it? And
I still had some comments. I was looking at it literally maybe an hour ago on the G bus on the way in. So I was about to leave comments, and then when I clicked review complete, GitHub showed me the unicorn.
okay,
And it's been showing me the unicorn ever since.
okay. So I mean, I think just to summarize, I think I laid down all the options, and the option that I wanted to go was basically go with pod management. If somebody does max unavailable with pod management is equal to parallel, then we basically say that there is no ordering guarantees, and
Right.
and we'll always try to do max and unavailable number of pods going down. So even if there are, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
My suggestion was that if pod management policy was ordered, then you go with what you described as option 1 and try your best to preserve the ordering, potentially at a lower kind of rate of disruption. For if you've specified parallel and you've specified max and available to be greater than 1, then that's when you would get the behavior that I'm going to tolerate a larger number of disruptions and potentially go out of order because I don't care about it. And then if you specify pod management policy 1 if you specify max and available 1 with pod management policy equal parallel, you would get the default behavior you have today, preserving the existing semantics.
Right, and just to, like, we could go one step further and say that we'll only as alpha support pod management parallel for max and available greater than 1, and implement all other ordered behaviors for max and available later in later phases.
I'm fine with that. Basically, if you care that much about it, about the ordering, you probably don't want to take more disruptions than 1 at a time anyway.
Right. Okay. Okay. So I'll wait for your comments maybe today, tomorrow, and then reiterate on it.
Hopefully today, and
Yeah.
I'll finish up as soon as GitHub lets me.
Sounds good, man. Thanks.
No problem. Okay. Anything else? All right. I guess we'll give like half an hour, 40 minutes back, and convene with the bug scrub next time. All right, guys, have a good week if I don't see you.
Thanks again. Bye.